Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Kellen here again with Droid Life, and we've got the Galaxy S22 Ultra in the building. So we haven't done one of these in a while, but we know your phones are arriving shortly. So, we want to get you ready for that moment. So like we do with all of these big phones, let's do the first 10 things to do with your Galaxy S22 Ultra. So we really do this for basically every single flagship level phone. We've done it for years upon years now. So if you're new to this, what we're doing is we've got a really high-end, fancy, expensive phone that you might be getting soon, or you just picked up, and you want to know kind of what to do right out of the box. That's our first 10 things series. So this video is really long. We dive into almost all of the most important settings on the phone to kind of let you know if you should tweak those now, and so that you don't ever have to worry about them again, or if maybe it's an area of the phone you should just look at to consider some things. We kind of walk through it all. So again, it's really long. I apologize. Grab a snack, grab a drink, whatever, sit with us, and we're going to walk through a whole bunch of stuff that this very powerful, very feature-packed phone will do. And the first place we almost always start is with security. So this phone has a fingerprint scanner right there in the display, has a camera up top so it can do face unlock. And then of course you should always put a secure lock on your phone. I'm talking PIN, pattern, password. You should just do that. If you lose your phone, someone steals it, whatever, you don't want anyone to just be able to get in your phone. These things have obviously lots of important information. So I'm going to go up in here into settings to get started here. But during your walkthrough of the initial setup of the phone, when it asks you to set up a secure lock and a fingerprint reader or face unlock, whatever, do all of that. Just do it. And if you skipped it, now we're going to do it now. So anyways, we're going to go down in here to biometrics and security. And we've got face and fingerprints right there at the top. We're going to start actually with fingerprints. I feel like that's probably the most important one. So we're going to tap that, and it's going to require you to put in that pattern, password, or PIN, whatever you set up. So I have 3 fingerprints set up here. I usually do both thumbs and then also my index finger. You can add any fingers you want. You just tap that little add fingerprint button, and it takes a minute to think about whatever it's going to do, and then it should turn on. There we go. And to set one up, you just lift and press your finger on that, and it'll start reading it. It'll tell you the percentage. It's pretty easy. You guys have probably done that before. If you ever want to figure out which finger you have set up as which, you can do this check finger, and you put your finger on there and it'll tell you. So fingerprint 3 is my index finger. Anyway, from there, a couple of settings. Fingerprint unlock. Obviously, you want to have that on because you want to use your finger to unlock. This one says fingerprint always on. And what that allows you to do is unlock your phone with your fingerprint, even if it's not showing the fingerprint there. I know it's kind of weird, but I have it to always show, which is this next option. So you saw that on my lock screen, even when it was always on display, there was a little fingerprint silhouette there. These are kind of those settings to make that show or not show, whatever. Either way, we want to be unlocking with our finger. So add that. Second thing is face recognition. Can't really show you how to set this up because I've already got it set up and I'm behind a camera, but you press add face, and then this little circle appears, and you put your face in there with your camera in a well lit area, and it'll scan your face, and then you're set up for face unlock. There are some things to know there though. So this option is face unlock. Obviously you're setting it up for face unlock, so check that box. But this one is kind of important and a personal preference. So stay on lock until swipe. So when it scans your face, you can have it just go whoop right past your lock screen into your home screen or wherever you last left off. Or you can have it face unlock and then sit there on the lock screen waiting for you to swipe into it. I like that because I just don't like it jumping past sometimes what I'm doing. I might be reading a notification on my lock screen, and if it sees my face, it might just jump right past what I'm doing. So I leave it there as that swipe, but you sort of decide what to do. Require eyes open is a good one, so somebody doesn't just hold this up to your face at night. And brighten screen just means it'll kind of brighten things up to try to see your face if you're in a dark environment or something like that. So security is important. Again, set up a secure lock screen, and then these two just kind of make it easier to get into your phone rather than having to type in a pattern or password or PIN or something like that. So anyway, security, you should definitely set that up. From there, I want to talk about a couple of important shortcuts. So when we have a new phone, we like to take pictures, and this one also happens to have an S Pen, so we might want to use that S Pen often. So the two quickest shortcuts, or 2 most important shortcuts I would show you there, are launching the camera. So wherever you are in your phone, you can always double tap the power button, and that will fire up the camera, and then you can take pictures of things. If you do that from the lock screen, you'll see I'm still at the lock screen. However, if I unlock and I'm in an app like checking the weather or something, or Chrome, you can double tap the power, and that will also get you in there. So you can do that shortcut no matter what you're doing at any moment in time. Now, as far as the S Pen goes, if you're on the lock screen like this and somebody's telling you their phone number, or I don't know, you think of something you want to jot down, just pull your S Pen out. This has been an S Pen feature forever, but if you're new to this, and then you can, you know, take down a phone number. Definitely call that. Yeah. So you can take down a phone number, jot down a note, whatever's on your mind. And then when you're done, you just click save and it saves it to Samsung Notes. I don't know if you saw that there. If you're on this screen and you want to take another note and you have your S Pen out, you just actually click the little button and it goes back in there. So that's just another way to take another note. If you want to delete one, you just swipe back, hit discard. Another thing to show you, and we'll kind of combine the two here, is if you want to take a picture of something, let's say you want to take a picture of yourself maybe, and you set your camera up like over there. This thing does remote picture taking, and so you can click the little button and it will take a picture. See, it just took a picture there. So just another quick shortcut, but those are probably the two most important. Double tap power, that gets into your camera. Take your S Pen out when it's in a lock state to take a quick note. And next up, we're going to talk about this area, always on display and your lock screen. So just a really important area of your phone. Not only do you get the time and the date, it shows you if you have notifications and your battery life and stuff like that. So let's talk about this area and setting it up. So if we swipe into settings again and we go into a lock screen, you'll find all this stuff. So here is where you can actually set up your lock screen type. Remember I said pattern, password, PIN. If you didn't do that during setup, this is actually where you'll find that. But from here though, always on display. So I have mine on, but you also find your clock and some widgets and stuff like that. So if we go into always on display, you have some options. Number one, you could turn it off or on. If you don't want always on display ever to show, you can just turn it off right there. But then you have some options on when it shows. So you can have it tap to show. So it'll be a black screen. And if you want to look at it, you just reach over, tap on your screen and it'll fire up. I have mine always because I'm just that kind of weird dude. You can have it scheduled in case you don't want it on during certain times of the day, or you can have it just automatically pop on when new notifications arrive. So lots of options. You decide which way you want to do it. But from there you have clock style, so you can change the clock style, find something that you're cool with, change the color of that clock, that sort of thing. You got to have some customization here. You can even do one with an image if you really want to, an AR emoji and all of that fun stuff. You can have it show music information if you're playing music, auto brightness, so it'll kind of dim and raise the brightness on the always on display depending on light around you. So a couple of options there. If we swipe back though, there are some other things to potentially tweak. So the roaming clock just it sort of automatically adjusts time if you're a big traveler. It'll show you your home time zone and whatever time zone you're in right now. It's up to you. Widgets, this is a thing I've never used with Samsung phones, but they've been here for a long time. And basically on your always on display or your lock screen, you can set up widgets. So here I have weather and digital well-being. So if we go to our lock screen and we double tap to wake it, and then you actually tap on your clock, it'll bring up some widgets. So you can see I have that weather widget and there's my digital well-being. You can set these up if you want to. I've never found them to be useful, but maybe you will. And so that is what these widgets are. You can reorder them, turn some on, off, whatever you want to always do. And that's mostly it outside of these last two down here. So notifications, you have two different notification styles for your always on and your lock screen. You can have details, which actually shows you like this. It shows you a little bit of your notification, or you can have it do icons only, and that's really just going to show you an icon. So I'll show you what that looks like. So if I have icons only and I double tap this, see, I just have some icons there. It's not actually showing me any details. Whereas if I tap this one, and I get icons when it's in this state, but when I wake it up, it actually starts showing me more information. So I like to see more information. From there, you can change the transparency of your notifications. You can reverse color and hide content and have it alert and silent notifications depending on what type of notifications they are. And then obviously here's your show and always on display. So anyway, notifications, get those set up how you like. The other thing then and final thing is shortcuts. So on the bottom corners of your lock screen, let's go back there. So if I wake it up, you can see I have camera shortcut, phone shortcut. These are typically the two out of the box. You can customize those. I already showed you a camera shortcut, so you may want to turn that camera one into, say, like the flashlight. So now when I wake this up, I have a flashlight shortcut, and you just swipe and it turns on flashlight. Swipe, turn that back off. So just another thing to consider there. A lot of times I turn this off because I don't ever find them that useful, but flashlight is actually kind of a useful little shortcut. And that's pretty much it. So your lock screen and always on display should now be set up. You've got a custom clock, colored potentially, maybe some background images. You've got your notifications set up to show when and however you like them to. And you maybe even have some shortcuts down here. And then your battery percentage as well. Let's go ahead and dive into the home screen now and just talk about setting you up there also for success. So home screen stuff, I'll be quick here because you guys probably know how to do a lot of this. If you swipe over here to the left, it gets you into Google Discover and it'll show you news feeds based on your interests or whatever. You can have multiple pages set up. So like my home screen, I have this weather thing. I have a Google Assistant or Google search bar. And then over here, I have a bunch of shortcuts, including like folders and things like that, right? So you can set all of this stuff up the way you want. Swiping up gets you into your app drawer. And for whatever reason, Samsung still makes this horizontal instead of vertical. It's awful. And they won't give us an opportunity to change it to vertical, whatever. Some quick shortcuts here so you can kind of make this your own. Pinch to zoom down here gets you into this sort of overview. So you can turn off Discover, change it to whatever Samsung Free is. You can change your default home screen by hitting the little home button here. If you want to wipe out an entire screen, you can hit this trash can button here as well. So a couple shortcuts there. You can also long press and that will get you into that same area, but pinch to zoom is usually a little bit faster. From there though, if we want to change our wallpaper, you'll find that there. If you want to dive into themes, you can add custom themes and icon packs and stuff like that from Samsung's own weird theme store. That's where you find that. This is where you'll find your widgets. So if you want to add a widget to something, you just go in here, grab a widget, and then place it wherever you want. You guys have, I think, seen widgets before, so we're not going to talk about that. If you want to remove something, you just long press on it, tap the remove button. I do want to show you one thing though here in wallpaper and style. So with Android 12, this phone runs Android 12. We've done this new thing where not only can we change our wallpapers, which is nothing new, but there's this color palette thing. And color palette means out of the box, your phone has its own color palette, which is this one over here. But depending on your wallpaper, Android now pulls colors from it to sort of give you a more customized experience. So you can see it gives me 4 different options and it's changing like the color of buttons and different tones and things like that. So it gives you a really personalized experience. It was one of those big things with Android 12 and Samsung has brought that here as well. So that's what that is this color palette area. The other thing I would show you then is if we go into settings. So if you go into settings, tons of stuff to change in here. Your home screen layout. Right now it is set to home and apps screen. And what that means is I have home screens and then I can swipe up from below to get into my app drawer. If you're an iPhone user and you want all of your apps to show up on all of your home screen pages, you would hit home screen only. Please don't do that. It's very odd. So anyway, use your app drawer. You have it. It helps you be more organized. You can adjust grid sizes if you want extra rows or columns or things like that. You can adjust those in both your home screen and your app drawer. You can even adjust folder grid sizes. I have mine 4x4, but you can change it to 3x4, and here's just some of those other layouts. And it'll preview these for you, so you don't have to like make the decision without seeing what it might look like. If we swipe down here though, a couple of options. Well, here's that Google Discover that we talked about, or Samsung Free. Again, Discover just shows you news. I have no idea what Free does. Show apps screen button on home screen. A lot of these are so wordy. And what that means is you'll have a shortcut to your app drawer. So if you toggle that on, you'll just get a little shortcut and you can just tap and it'll open your app drawer. But again, you can just swipe up. You don't need to do what that's saying. Lock home screen layout. If you get it set up and you don't want things moving around, feel free to toggle that. This add new apps to home screen. So every time you install a new app from Google Play, if you have this turned on, it'll just add it to the end of your home screen setup. So that could mean it'll add a new page. I don't think most of you want to do that, especially once you get it all set up, but that's what that option there does. This one right here is very important. Swipe down for notification panel. I would recommend turning that on. This is a huge phone. And so all that means is if I swipe down from any area, so if I swipe here, if I swipe down from over here, if I swipe down from up here, it brings my notification area down without having to reach all the way up here to bring it down. So you can just swipe wherever. Also with your your app drawer, you can swipe up from anywhere. So I could be up here and swipe up, and that gets me into my app drawer, and the swipe down gets me in there. So if you don't have that turned on, swiping down will also bring up your app drawer. It's very weird. So anyway, turn that setting on, and that's kind of your home screen setup. I'll let you customize it how you will. From there, we're going to talk about our quick settings area, which is this area up here, this whole thing here and here. So again, I swipe down, it gets me to my notifications, but I want to talk about this area. So the most important things here are, you can see I have these 6 shortcuts to like my Wi-Fi and portrait mode and dark mode, night mode, brightness, whatever, and a flashlight. And then I have a brightness slider here. So you can customize all this stuff. And if I swipe it down again, there are additional things to customize. So if you tap on this little 3-dot thing here, and we're going to go to edit buttons. And what that's going to allow us to do is those quick settings shortcuts. This is where you adjust those. So the first 6, so the top 4 here and the first 2 here are those ones that showed up when I did the first single swipe down. They're the most important. So the things you adjust all the time, again, for me, it's these 6. I have those there. And then this is my first page of quick setting shortcuts. And then you can have multiple pages. If you want to add things or move them around, you just long press and it'll let you drag them and drop them wherever you want. And again, you can do this for multiple pages. If there's something you don't want, you just long press and drag it up here into this top area. And if there's something from up here you want, you just grab it and drag it and drop it there wherever you want it as well. But anyways, those first 6, again, very important, as is this first page. Once you're done, you just hit done. So again, I swipe down and there's those quick 6, swipe down again, and then here is my first page. Some other things though, brightness slider and these device controls, we can adjust those as well. So if I go into quick panel layout, you'll see both of those. So brightness control says show always or show when quick panel expanded. The wording again is very weird. All that's saying is I have it show always. So if I swipe down once, there's my brightness slider. No matter what I'm doing, I can just quickly adjust that. If I switch that to show when expanded, that first swipe down, it's no longer there. And you'll only see it if you do that second swipe down and then it shows up. So again, I like to see it always there. So that's why I change it to show always. The same thing goes for these device and media controls. So I have it show when expanded. You can actually turn these all the way off if you want, or do the show always thing. So you can see I don't have those controls, and I'm talking about these things right here. So device control is for like your smart home control. The media output is, you know, your music playing and you want to transfer it from device to device. These shortcuts, I don't want it to show here. I want it to show here, but again, you can sort of customize that, or if you don't like them, you can just turn it completely off if you want. The third thing here is status bar. So status bar lets you tweak a little bit of the stuff all the way up here. This is your status bar. So you can show different notification types. You can have it show all notifications in a row up here. You can have it show just your 3 most recent. You can have it just show a number of notifications, or you can have it show no notifications, which would be odd. You can have it battery percentage show at all times. I like to, but if you don't, you can toggle that there. There is a notification history that you can turn off or on. And if you have it on, it'll just show you all of the notifications you've received recently. Some other things in here have to do with like text messaging apps, like conversations and floating bubbles. I'm not going to talk about either of those, but bubbles are like the little floating bubble that pops around on your screen, depending on your messaging app, and you can kind of tuck it off to the side. If you find that useful, that is what bubbles is. I do like some of these ones though. So suggest actions and replies for notifications. So if you get a text message from somebody, it might suggest replies or notifications. It might suggest a reply, and you can quickly tap that rather than having to type it all out. I like the snooze button. So I like to snooze notifications often and have them pop back up a little bit later. That's what that is. But if that button's bugging you up there, you can get rid of that. And I'll show you what that looks like. See right there, that little snooze button. That's what that is. Notification reminders. This is a new one to me, to be honest, but you can set up certain apps that will remind you with a little buzz mine's set to 3 minutes that I have a notification from, say, like Telegram or Google Voice. So my phone actually keeps buzzing me because I have a Google Voice notification up there, and it keeps buzzing me every 3 minutes to remind me that, hey, you've got something up there to deal with. If you don't want to deal with it anymore, you can actually clear it, and then those vibrations or those reminders will stop doing that. So anyways, lots to set up there, but once you kind of get this area all good, including your notifications, I just think you'll just be so much quicker to get things done on your phone. Okay, I think we're maybe halfway done, but it is time now to dive into settings. So we're gonna run through a whole bunch of the settings in here, sort of one by one, and just kind of tell you what you should focus on. The first thing is connections, and this is where you just manage your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and your NFC and all that stuff, your airplane mode. You can find your SIM card manager if you have dual SIMs or eSIMs or whatever. This is where you'll find that. There's not a lot to say in there, but that is where you manage that stuff. But I do want to talk about sounds and vibrations. So your sound controls are one of those things, hopefully you don't have to adjust that often, but there's ways to be able to adjust them better. if that makes sense. So you can obviously put sound on or vibrate or mute here. You obviously have volume controls over here. You can see that little icon means I have mine set to adjust my volume control set to adjust media controls first and foremost. But if I ever want to adjust anything else, I can always tap those little 3 dots and it brings me in here. So I can turn my sound back on, my notifications, and my system sounds. And if I go back into volume, you can see there's a little option down here that says use volume keys for media. So if you want yours to adjust your ringtone and notifications, just turn this off and then we'll get out of there. It should then adjust for that. Okay. I don't like it to do that. So we're going to go ahead and make sure we turn that back on. From there, though, you obviously have ringtone and notification sounds and all of that stuff. I think you guys can explore those on your own. But vibration patterns, I do like to talk about a little bit. So call vibration pattern. All this does is you can have it sync vibration pattern with your ringtone. It'll try to match the tone, or you can customize it to whatever you want here. Same thing goes for your notifications. But vibration intensity is one of those things you probably do want to play with. So I like having vibration intensity set to full when I have a call. I should be able to hear it rattling on a desk. I'm one of those people that leaves their phone on silent, by the way, so that's why. Or if it's in my pocket, then hopefully I will feel it. However, when every single Gmail notification rolls in, I don't want it to vibrate my entire desk, so I often turn that intensity down a little bit. And then touch interactions. As you move about your phone and touch things, it'll give you a little bit of feedback. And then you can adjust the strength of that. I turn it down a little bit. I don't think Samsung does great haptics, so I actually turn it down a little bit. But you can adjust those to your liking. That's what this is. All right, so if we dive into system sound vibration control. So there may be things you want sound or vibration to as you're moving about your phone, and these are kind of the way to adjust those. So do you want it to make a blooping noise every time you touch your phone? I don't, so you can turn that off, but I might want it to vibrate, so you can leave that on. Same thing goes with unlocking and locking. Do you want it to make a noise every time it does that? If you don't, turn that off. Do you want your navigation gestures to vibrate every time? Again, I don't think there's great haptics here, so I actually turn that off. But you can have like keyboard sounds, make sounds or vibrate, kind of decide where you want to go there. If we go into sound quality and effects, I'm not going to dive in here, but this phone does have Dolby Atmos support. And if you want to change that between movie, music, or voice, that is up to you, or leave it on auto to have it figure out on its own. You can have Dolby Atmos for gaming, but you do have an equalizer in here. So if you want to control the sound going into your headphones in a specific way, you can adjust that here as well. So those are your sound settings, and your vibration controls. Definitely worth looking at. The next one then is notifications. This is a quick one. So notifications, you can have them show as detailed, which means as a notification rolls in and it pops down, it'll show you more information, or brief means less information. I will let you decide what you want to do there. One of the things I do like though is recent. So if you have a recent notification that maybe bugged you that you didn't want to see from a game or an app or something like that, you can see it in here and you can just toggle those off. You can also tap more to see a long list, and you can just go in here and just turn off and be like, yeah, I don't want that notification to ever show again. There's do not disturb settings, which I don't think I really want to walk you through, but do not disturb, you can set a schedule for your do not disturb, allow exceptions, that sort of thing. If we go into advanced settings, this is that stuff I already showed you from the home screen. So again, just rewind if you want to go in there. All right, let's talk display. Lots of stuff that's very important in display. So up top display, you have light or dark themes. This is how you can manually toggle between those if you want to. There are also dark mode settings where you can set up as scheduled. I have a schedule set. You can do that as well, or just be the manual guy, or run it always in dark like a lot of people do. Brightness slider, but again, we've showed you that up top. But adaptive brightness is one of those things you should leave on it. It tries to sort of learn your patterns and adjust brightness accordingly. Motion smoothness is a big one. This has a 120 Hertz AMOLED display. You should probably take advantage of that. It just makes everything look smoother. So in order to take advantage of that, you turn on adaptive, and it will refresh rate up to 120 Hertz, and it'll sort of down rate that. That's not a standard term, but it'll sort of drop that down depending on what you're doing on your phone. It'll ramp it up if it needs to be smoother, or you can just run in 60 Hertz, and that's, please don't do that. Let's see. Eye comfort shield. This is the blue light filter. So if you turn that on, it makes everything that sort of amberish color. However, you can leave it on adaptive, and it tries to, throughout your day, adjust to be warmer, cooler, depending on the lighting around you. I think it always ends up running too warm for me, so I don't use it. You can also customize it, really crank that warmness up if you want to. Here are your screen mode controls. So if you want it to look vivid and punchy or maybe a little more natural, you can do that. If you have it on vivid, you have some additional settings. You can make it cooler, warmer, or you can change your RGB levels as well. So some things to tweak there. If you go into screen resolution, this is a quad HD display. You can see I'm running mine at full HD, which is 1080. If you switch between these, it tells you which ones will use the most battery. This leaves me a little bit of a balance in between the two. And quad HD's never been something I've cared a ton about. So I just leave everything at 1080p, hoping that it'll get me better battery. And also I just don't care. But if you want to run it full quad HD, that is totally up to you. So the next thing is edge panels. Now this is one of those options that Samsung has had forever and I do not ever use it. However, you might find it useful. So edge panel, if I turn this on, it gives you this little tab right here. I know it's kind of hard to see, but you can swipe that out and it gives you, like recent apps, maybe some favorite apps. That's at least the initial setup out of the box. But you can customize that panel to show a bunch of other stuff. Like you could have it show people or tasks or the weather or something like that. And so if I go back now and I swipe that back out, I can swipe through all those different ones I just selected. So if you find that stuff useful, that is what edge panel is. Of course, you can adjust that. You can move the thing up or down to find a better spot for that little tab. You can change the color of that tab. You can lock the position. You can change it over to the left side. You can make it longer, bigger, more transparent, whatever you want to do. That's what edge panel is. Again, not a thing I ever use, but I think a lot of people do, so that's where you'll find those controls. Navigation bar. So navigation controls on here, you can see I've got the gestures enabled down here at the bottom. If you're a 3-button user and wondering where that went from your previous phone, you can actually enable that once again. This is where you would do that. I'm going with swipe gestures because that's just kind of the current trend of where Android is going. This little thing right here though, so gestures, you can see I have this little bar down here at the bottom. If you don't like that because you know how to work the gestures, you can actually turn that thing off. You just untoggle that and it turns that right off. I leave it on just because I think that's what Android does out of the box. Show button though, to hide keyboard, you should definitely have that on with gestures on. That just shows a little down arrow over either this side or this side when your keyboard's up to let you hide the keyboard easier. And then if you want to, you can block gestures from working with your S Pen. I don't block them. I like to actually use the gestures with my S Pen. So up to you there. That's pretty much it. So there's all your display settings. Definitely tons of stuff to dive into there. From display though, there's a whole section in here that we've kind of covered. I mean, wallpaper and style, we showed you that. You can change your wallpaper or you can change that color palette to sort of change the style of the theme, which is very fun. Themes, again, this is Samsung's theme store. I have airplane mode on, sorry, but you'll find wallpapers and icon packs and all sorts of stuff in there. Your home screen layout, again, we already talked through that, and your lock screen, we already talked through that. So we're gonna skip those and dive down into privacy just for a second. So in this privacy area, this is a big focus with Android 12 actually, and Samsung is adopting that here. So what it's showing you are some important things that that apps may be using. So namely your camera, your microphone, and your location. So if you're worried about apps using these things without your permission, you can look in here and it'll show you. And you can just tap on like camera and it'll show you what used my camera recently. And then if you want to take camera access away from something, you just tap on it and go in here and say, do not allow, or ask me every time before I allow it to use it. So that's how you do that. Same thing goes with location. You can just go in here and see what's been accessing your location. If you don't want it to do that, you just tap on it. It makes it super easy to turn those permissions off. Also, if you just don't want anything ever to access your camera or microphone, you can toggle those right there as well. So we like the new privacy controls. So next up, we're going to dive into advanced features. This is one of those areas where Samsung tries to introduce a bunch of new cool stuff that they don't really know where else to put. So you can see I have a lot of this stuff off. It's just not stuff that I use, but you should definitely take advantage of the stuff that sort of fits your lifestyle or the gadgets around you. So link to Windows. If you're not familiar, Microsoft has this app called Your Phone. And Your Phone allows your phone to connect to a Windows PC. And Samsung's calling it Link to Windows, and you tap on that, it'll walk you through how to set that up. It's kind of cool. Like it mirrors your phone to your Windows PC and you get notifications and open apps and all. It's actually a pretty cool app. I'm not using Windows currently, so I don't use it. Call and text on other devices. So if you have a Galaxy Watch, tablet, a guess a Bixby speaker, and you turn this on, it'll allow you to use this phone and its mobile plan through those other devices, sort of, to like respond to texts, get calls and all that. It's a very cool feature. This continue apps on other devices, it's kind of pointless, but it says you can continue using apps from like one Samsung device to the next, but it only works with Samsung Internet and Samsung Notes. So if you use those a lot, then it might be useful. You guys probably know what Samsung DeX is. Plug this into a monitor, attach a keyboard, mouse, and you can use it as sort of a desktop computing experience. There are your settings. Here's your Android Auto settings. If we jump into labs, I do want to point out one thing though. So some apps aren't set up to be able to use multi-window, which, you know, is like a window up here and a window up here at the same time. If you're running into an app that you want to force to have multi-window, just toggle this on and the system will say, nah, you don't get to block this. We're going to force you into allowing that. You'll see in here your S Pen, and the S Pen section, we're probably going to make an entire video on this, so apologize, we're not going to talk about the S Pen right now. Just look at the channel and we'll have a video of that shortly. But this side key we did talk about, double tap to launch the camera. If for some reason you don't want to do that, you can actually have it open an app or do something else or turn it off. And then pressing and holding on your power button, you can have it wake Bixby. No one's doing that. Or have it pull up your power off menu. If we jump into motions and gestures, again, a lot of this stuff is just kind of read it and decide if that's something you might use, like lift to wake. So you pick your phone up and it kind of wakes up as you lift it. Double tap to turn on screen or double tap to turn off. That just means double tapping. You guys saw me doing that earlier. Alert when phone is picked up. So if you pick up your phone, you haven't looked at it in a while, it'll vibrate at you if you missed calls or text messages or something like that. If you have a call coming in or an alarm going off and you want to mute it quickly by just putting your palm over it, that is what that option is. And then down here is a palm to swipe to capture. That's just a screenshot shortcut. You can just kind of wipe your hand across it and it'll take a screenshot. The only other thing I think I would talk about really in here is probably one-handed mode. So one-handed mode, because this phone is so large, if you swipe down, if you have this enabled and you swipe down on this gesture, it goes into one-handed mode, and then you can control your entire phone, you know, from right here. And you can adjust the size of this window sometimes. I swear this works sometimes. Sometimes you can drag that up. You can switch this over to this side. I'm telling you right now, you're supposed to, there we go. Okay, so you can do that. And then to get back to full screen, you just swipe down, there we go, on that, and it should gesture back in. It's kind of finicky, but it does work. Anyway, the phone's just so large, you just may want to consider doing that. But you'll see other stuff in here, like there's your screenshots and screen recorder features, and there are plenty of those going on. Your game launcher, dual messenger in case you want to have multiple accounts and things like that in a messenger app. So anyway, those are your advanced features. Those are really those things you just kind of go in, read the description and say, okay, that sounds kind of cool. The next up though I want to dive into is battery and device care. So when you pull this section up, maybe your phone's running sluggish and you're trying to figure out why. You could go into this device care and it'll tell you like, hey, everything's great, or maybe something's draining battery or something like that. You can click optimize now and it'll kind of clean up apps that it's using and free up memory and maybe look to see to empty out some storage or things like that. You're kind of just trusting that it's tuned to do the right things. I did want to point out though, if you go up here into automation, a couple of cool settings. If you, well, there's this one that says auto optimize daily. So if you have that on, and I didn't realize I had it on at first, but at 3 o'clock, my phone will close apps to free up memory and try to make things run a little bit better by the time I get up in the morning. If you don't want your phone doing that, make sure to turn that off. I believe mine was on out of the box. But if you want your phone to just restart every single day or something like that, or every couple of days, you can actually schedule it to do that. So you can turn that on, pick a couple days, set a time, and it'll just reboot at that time every single day, which is actually kind of cool. And I think that's pretty much it in there. If we jump into apps real quick, just one thing in here. First of all, this is your app list. So if you want to install something or get into some settings for an app, you can do that in here. But up here for defaults, if you want to set some defaults up, so I have Chrome Beta as my default browser app. You can change your caller ID or your assistant or your home app. Maybe you don't want to use Samsung's home launcher. You want to use Nova or Launcher or something like that. You can change that in here. But you can change your phone app and your text messaging app. This is where you will find those default apps. All right, and the final section is the camera. So let's open the camera and talk a little bit about this. So camera, pretty simple controls. Down here are your options to quickly jump between your different cameras. So super ultra wide, there's my setup, regular wide, a little bit of zoom, 10x zoom, and then remember you could pinch to zoom and go all the way to 100. That's just silly, but maybe you want to do that. Up top, you have some other shortcuts for things. So here's your image ratio. Just run 3x4. That's a standard format, unless you just want to take a lot of squares. But there's that. You can see your timer, and you'll find your flash setups. And here's some filters and things like that if you want to get into that. If we jump in here, the top left, these are your camera settings. So scene optimizer. If you want Samsung to look at the scene you're shooting and try to optimize. Make dark scenes look brighter, food look tastier, and landscapes look more vivid, and you trust them, turn that on. If not, yeah, don't. Scan QR codes, you definitely want to turn that on if you're going out to bars and restaurants these days. Most tables have those, and this is the easy way to do that. Shot suggestion, it's just guides on how to line things up. It depends on if you really need that or not. You can change picture formats though for high efficiency pictures or raw. Same thing goes for video. This is where your stabilization is for video. Auto HDR, I would definitely leave that on. Let the camera do a little bit of work for you. If you want to have your autofocus track moving subjects, that's where that is. There's your grid lines. There's your location tags. If every picture you take, you want to have a location attached to it. So lots of settings in there to play with. As far as using the UI, you just swipe left and right on the screen to get to your different modes down at the bottom, or you can just, tap on those as well. I have night mode here. You can see here's your video settings, and the settings up top kind of change as you jump between modes. So you can change your video resolution to several different formats. And there's your flash and some more settings there as well, and your screen ratio there. If we jump over to more, you'll see even more stuff. I couldn't tell you what Bixby Vision or AR Zone are. I've never used them in my life, but there they are in case you do. If you want to adjust down here, maybe some of these extra modes like Pro Mode, you just long press on it and drag it right on down to the bar. Now you have Pro Mode down there and you can save it. If you want to get rid of something, you again just long press and drag it back up here and that'll get rid of it. You'll find single take in food and panoramas and hyperlapses and portrait video and all of that stuff. So there's a lot of shortcuts in here. Single take is that option where you just press the shutter button once and your Samsung phone just tries to do like a million different things and give you all these really cool results. It's actually kind of fun if you're just, out on a hike or at a party or something like that. Try it every once in a while and see if it gives you something that you are satisfied with. So anyway, that's just a brief look at camera. There's a lot more to talk about there, but this video is long enough. So anyways, that was the first, I don't know, it's actually like 15 things to do with your Galaxy S22 Ultra. If you guys have comments, questions, let us know. We are Droid Life. Peace.